Warning, the following program is designed for casual wrestling fans and is meant purely for entertainment. If you're SAWFT, proceed at your own risk. Viewer discretion is advised.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this chokehold. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is good, everybody? We are back with the Slap and Me Wrestling Podcast, and today we have our end of the year awards. We got a grand panel here. We got myself, as always, DJ Wavy D's on the show. Returning, we have Steel Chair Twan back on the show. We also have from the Beyond the Junkyard podcast, Cody and James, and joining the show as well from the Casual Wrestling podcast, we have Nerdy D. How's everybody doing?
What's up, brother?
Doing great.
All right, so we got
feeling good.
All right, we got a bunch of awards to get talking about. It's gonna be a fun night. So let's jump on in. Just some sort of ground rules. We'll sort of go in a circle. We'll start with Wavy D on each award, end with me. It's sort of how we're positioned on the screen. So Wavy D, Twan, James, Cody, Nerdy D, then we'll end with myself. So let's start with most improved. This was the one Wavy D sprung on me last minute.
Like a week and a half ago.
How we define most improved, I guess you can explain, because that's a very subjective category. So Wavy D, without further ado, who's your most improved?
So the way you can look at most improved, right, is, a wrestler getting better in the ring noticeably, getting better on the microphone, positioning themselves higher up the card, say compared to how they were last year. For example, you might have someone like Maxine Dupree, okay, got better in the ring, went from valet to decent wrestler, okay? You know what I'm saying? And so for my most improved of the year, honestly, I'll probably go Obafemi. Okay, Obafemi joined the wrestling world just last year. Man has like 25 matches, 26 matches under his belt, maybe 25 to 30, somewhere around there. But when he joined the breakout tournament, doing his thing, he was a little green in the ring. And now, me personally, I would put this man on a WrestleMania card. I think he's entertaining in the ring. He can talk enough. He has a great character. If you give him a mouthpiece, it will skyrocket him. But I think he can survive on his own. Obafemi is my most improved / breakout superstar of the year.
All right, move on over to Twan.
Ooh, most improved, I think. I only thought of one name when I thought of most improved. From where he started in the company to where he is now. My most improved is Dominic Mysterio. He's the biggest heel in the business, baby. Who would have thought Rey Mysterio's son would be the biggest heel in WWE right now? And my thing with him is, I feel like he just understands the business, bro. You know what I mean? He knows what to do. He knows like what reactions will get the crowd talking. He knows how to go viral. He knows exactly everything to do right. And I don't know. I look at the guy and I'm like, wow, he just has a punchable face. And I think that's just, I don't know. Dominic Mysterio is my most improved.
Yeah, that little chicken tender slut.
The chicken tender slut. Oh my God.
As Rhea calls him.
All right, so I hesitantly go down to the AEW bros down in the corner. James, go ahead.
Haters, man, haters. So I like Wavy D's definition of most improved. Someone who's improved in the ring, improved on the mic, And so with that, my pick for most improved is the real king of Chicago, Jack Perry.
Yes.
Jack Perry, before this current gimmick, they tried making him a heel, and it failed. They send him to Japan. CM Punk threw a fit, and CM Punk threw a fit. They sent him to Japan, and whatever he did in Japan just works because biggest heel, and at least I think in AEW this year was Jack Perry, so most improved in my book.
There's a height limit for these awards.
Yeah, I look. I have a feeling that's not the only award he's given. Jungle Bitch.
Oh man.
What Wavy D? You got your hands up. What's going on?
Yes. Just in case Nerdy D wasn't sure who Jack Perry is, he is who you call Jungle Bitch.
Yeah, I got you.
That is Jack Perry.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
All right, Cody, your turn.
So I too also liked Wavy D's explanation of how most improved is. However, I also look at it as when I think of a character and a gimmick and a wrestler, who didn't I notice before that all of a sudden I now notice and is legit in my opinion. So my most improved is actually going to be Solo Sikoa. Led the new Bloodline 2.0. He led it quite well. He improved a lot on the mic over the last year or so. Was able to go verbal battle with Paul Heyman and was able to stand on his own 2 feet with that. He got much better in the ring, told much better stories in the ring, outside the ring. So overall, he to me is improved the most. He's on my radar now. I consider him a legit threat in the company and in wrestling as a whole. So Solo Sikoa is my most improved.
All right.
Little bit of a spoiler, but this Friday, don't miss his promo. He has a fire promo this Friday.
Okay.
There you go. See?
Nice. Nerdy, do your turn.
So yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing about the description of what this award was threw me off a little bit because you're throwing in there someone who's improved their kind of status in the company, but isn't that a booking thing more than an improvement thing to me?
Like, you know what I'm saying? It could be one of those criteria. Whatever.
But that's playing fast and loose with that definition. Because to me, improved. Now I'm going to agree with Cody here because my pick is Solo Sikoa. I think that's amazing pick. Because if you look back 365 days from where he was today, he's had. I mean, he was a non-speaking enforcer in the Bloodline to a guy who main evented a couple PLEs this year. Yeah. To me, that's the definition of improvement.
Yeah, he went from 1 in 35 last year to
exactly.
Yeah. So when this was my whole thing, when Wavy D threw this on me last second, I was like, well, that's the exact point I made. This is a booking thing. He mentions like Obafemi, and to me, Obafemi on his debut just was booked to be the next big giant. And so I don't necessarily think his in-ring persona changed. It just, they made him feel more important. Same thing with Maxine Dupree. They made her feel more important. And so I have to, represent my brand, that is NXT, on this award. I'm giving it to Tatum Paxley. She went from the enhancement talent that no one cared about if she was in the ring and they're debuting someone new and she's getting beaten 30 seconds to somewhat of a legitimate, top dog in NXT. So Tatum Paxley's going to get that award. Though I legitimately think you could give this to anyone who gets booked. And, if they gave Natalya a good storyline, Natalya at the end of, we could be saying her name at the end of next year. So
you're missing the thing though. So you mentioned Maxine Dupree, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me 365 days ago, when Homegirl could barely throw a work slap, okay, and now she can wrestle a 10-minute match on Monday Night Raw. Like, you're telling me that is not in-ring improvement. Most improvement.
She's carried through a 10-minute match. She's not.
Yeah, it's not
the
like
improvement is like from point 1 to point 2 with Maxine. In my
Okay, she
eyes.
went from valet who could barely throw a slap to somebody who can have a wrestling match, and
It's a very loose definition of wrestling match.
I don't know.
She can't carry a match.
This man,
She's not Charlotte Flair yet. Let's slow our
slow
horses
down. Yeah.
No, this man, we too deep. Don't let him fool you. He was glazing Maxine like a month or two ago when they announced these mid-card titles. He was like, "This would be perfect for Maxine to
carry." I don't disagree with that. I mean, look at her.
This title was 100%. The mid-card title was made for people like her to get experience.
Yeah, well, she can't wrestle. She can't hold that title.
We're not saying she can't wrestle. I'm saying the amount of improvement from being a valet to being able to slap somebody is not enough to win Most Improved of the Year.
Yeah,
no doubt.
She went from a valet who could hardly slap somebody to somebody who can wrestle on a Monday night weekly.
I don't know.
Weekly?
I don't know if I can say weekly.
I don't know weekly.
All right, let's move on. This one's a little bit more subjective as well. It's the Booker of the Year. I gave these guys. I mean, if y'all want to bring up some indie booker from and bumfuck nowhere, that's fine. But there's legitimately 3 choices: it's Shawn Michaels, Triple H, or Booger Sugar in the bottom corner down there. Tony Khan. I kind of know where everyone's probably going. So we'll go ahead and get this one done. Wavy D, who's your Booker of the Year?
All right. So, of course I'm going with Triple H. Sorry, not Triple H. I'm going with HBK. Going with HBK. I feel like he puts on the most consistently good PLEs. Okay. With Triple H, I feel like, he puts the matches together, but the matches are overall very predictable. And predictable is not always bad. But when pay-per-view after pay-per-view or PLE after PLE is predictable, and I can tell you who wins the matches without even watching the show, or if like 3 out of your 5 matches are good, or 2 out of the 5 matches, like it's just not the best. But Sean's booking NXT very well. He's my Booker of the Year, and shout out to third place, my boy Scott D'Amore before he left TNA. Shout out Scott D'Amore for third place Booker of the Year.
All right, Twan, who's your Booker of the Year?
I've got to agree with Wavy D. I think my Booker of the Year is Shawn Michaels. Not only because he's been putting on banger matches, I mean, consistent PLEs, consistent weekly showings, which is important to me. That's a big one. I feel like every week I can tune into NXT and I'll watch it from start to finish. You know what I mean? There's sometimes I tune into Raw, or for instance, I'll tune into SmackDown when Roman's not there and I feel like I don't want to watch. But with NXT, I feel like there's something for me every week. And my big thing with Shawn Michaels, what I feel like he's doing in NXT is he's creating more stars. Like, I feel like random people in NXT go out there and have matches that make me sit back and go, hold on, who is this guy? Like at Deadline, I was watching the tag team title match and I had to pause for a second. I was like, Miles Bourne, Tavian Heights. I was like, hold on now. I'm unfamiliar with your game. You know what I mean? I got to study you a little bit more. I feel like that happens often anytime I'm watching an NXT product lately. So I've got to give that credit to Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, it gets better when you know that Miles Bourne is 100% deaf. So James, try to keep the glazing down a little bit here. We know where you're going, but there's such thing as over glazing a donut to where, so keep it, go ahead. Tell us why Tony Khan's the best.
All right. I want to preface this by saying that Tony Khan is obviously my Booker of the Year, but he has made some really dumb booking decisions this year. The amount of booking decisions, in my opinion, that he has done better than the other two are what puts him better. Like, Tony Khan has created more storylines that are newer in the game than the other two. And I'll preface this too. I don't watch NXT, so I can't speak on NXT. But you look at WWE 5 years ago compared to today, and the main story is the same. It's the bloodline, and it's quite boring in my honest opinion. 5 years ago to today in AEW, you have completely different stories with completely different characters, and that Tony Khan's made some dumbass decisions. I'm not afraid to say that he hasn't made bad decisions, but to me, to be Booker of the Year is to put on new things that the crowd hasn't seen, and all year long we've seen new things. All of this year, we've seen the same exact crap from WWE.
Valid points, James. Very valid points. You know, I might not agree fully with you, but I do think there's a very valid points.
All right, Cody, you want to add on to Jane? I'm assuming you got Tony as well.
I do not. I have Shawn Michaels as a Booker of the Year.
Yeah, look you assuming things.
Listen, you know, as much as I'm an AEW lover, I am also a realist at the same time. Shawn Michaels has done a great job with NXT, and that's coming from somebody who honestly does not watch the product, but watches very little highlights of not only the weekly shows, but also the PLEs. But it's obvious to see what his vision is down there, how he's grooming the guys and gals at NXT, how they're getting better and better weekly, not only the layout and the format of the shows, but also with the way that they put on the PLEs. It's giving me a little bit of a reminiscent of Black and Gold NXT in a way, except they don't have the biggest, you know, they have some of the biggest indie stars on there, but they've also got their homegrown talent as well. And it's created a really good mix and blend of NXT that I think is very sustainable and very successful. Obviously, you know, with the signings they've made with Julia and Stephanie Bakir and Ethan Page, that helps with the brand and helps showcase those talents, but also having the homegrown guys on and guys and gals on there as well. Having Trick Williams as the NXT champion, obviously that was going to happen, and I think it's been very successful. And from a 52-week perspective, Shawn Michaels is done the best out of all three for sure. So got to go with HBK.
All right, Nerdy D, your turn.
So I'll be the sane person in the room and tell you guys everything y'all are saying is batshit crazy. Triple H has grown WWE, the main roster shows, over the last 365 days. There are so many people returning back to watching wrestling. NXT is great, right? It's consistent, it's whatever, but it's low pressure booking. Like there's no expectation in NXT. It's like equating a college football coach to an NFL football coach. The argument made about like booking and not watching SmackDown because Roman Reigns isn't there, that shows that Triple H has to deal with those things on a weekly basis. He has to deal with egos and guys not showing up on a consistent basis and still book consistent shows. In NXT, they have those people contained in one city under one building. They can work it out all week. Whereas on main roster, there's so much shit, so many egos. You're talking about bringing CM Punk in and just kind of molding him into the mix and turning him into one of the top superstars on the roster now. You've got him playing nice with Seth Rollins. You got a book. There's, to me, Booker of the Year is less about match to match as it is how did you grow the experience over the year based on the premium live events and the stories that you had to put on. So for me, it's Triple H. I understand the argument for HBK, and I won't disagree with that. And I don't watch NXT that much, so I don't have a lot to say about that. But I just think the pressure of booking a 3-hour Monday Night Raw for the most part and a SmackDown that didn't have Roman Reigns, I think he did a hell of a job this year.
Okay. I'm going to sort of agree with what Twan's point. Well, HBK, of course, is mine. Chef Michaels has been cooking all year. I will agree with Nerdy D's point. He's had the least to deal with in terms of like outside things going on. Tony Khan's had to deal with basically all of his top stars wondering if they're going to resign with MJF, Garcia, whatever's going on with Ricky Starks. And, you know, Roman Reigns missing half the year. I understand that. I just think for me, Triple H, he does good things, but I feel like what he does is he covers up all the shit that he books with like little trinkets. We'll bring The Rock out. We'll bring, Saturday night main event back, and we'll bring all this nostalgia in, and that's fine. I think he has grown the brand and the viewer experience. More people are going to watch because of it. I just think from a Booker type, storyline perspective, Shawn Michaels has done the best. I do think there are, we could probably put an asterisk right next to it and be like, hey, he has the least amount of shit to worry about. And maybe that changes now that they're starting to travel more going into next year. With that being said, now we get into the fun ones. Let's start with Feud of the Year. We're talking about the feuds that made you just want to tune in, had you on the edge of your seat. I think there's only one answer to this question. But we'll start. Let's see what Wavy D has to say here.
You're right. There is only one answer to this question. Okay? And Feud of the Year has been Tony Khan versus the Booger Sugar. Okay? All right? Tony Khan is in this ever-losing saga against the Booger Sugar. Okay? Not joking. Feud of the Year is Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Adam. No, I'm joking.
Oh my god.
Okay, Feud of the Year, in all honesty, Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. All right, this started off at the Rumble, okay, with Drew accidentally tearing CM Punk's tricep or whatever, and then they built that into a nice little story. Sadly, we didn't get Punk versus Seth, but we'll swing back around to that. But anyways, CM Punk and Drew built this feud up over the course of time while CM Punk was out with an injury, couldn't get physical in the ring, but god dang it, he delivered some nice ass promos, okay? And then it built up to not only 1, 2, but 3 solid matches, okay? You had your regular match, your strap match, and your Hell in a Cell match, which was arguably a top 5 Hell in a Cell of all time. Okay? Some people try to call it the best. I think that's just recency bias. But it's an arguably top 5 Hell in a Cell match of all time. And that Hell in a Cell match and that feud was so great that it made a trash ass pay-per-view be looked at as a possible PLE of the year contender. That's how great that Hell in a Cell match was. So that is my answer. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre.
All right, Twan, what's your answer?
I've got to agree with Wavy D again. I think there is only one answer for this question, like Deep said earlier, and it's my answer: CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. All year long, even till last night when they were subtly sending shots to each other. I feel like this is Feud of the Year. It's been a fun feud. It led to one of the bloodiest Hell in a Cell matches in history. That it wasn't even planned for Drew to bleed, which kind of made that even cooler in my eyes. Drew was walking around with CM Punk's wife's name on his arm for 4 months straight, bro. Like, that's crazy, man. CM Punk screwed over Drew McIntyre in 3 different world title matches. He flew to Scotland, to his home country, and screwed him over. Like, if that's not beef, I don't know what beef is. You know what I mean? And all in all, I feel like it was just a fun feud, great matches, and yeah, I think that's my only choice for Feud of the Year.
Great matches, even better promos.
Yeah.
All right, James. Please enlighten us with this. Some more glazing going on here.
Hey, let you assuming. You know what to say when you assume? You make an ass out of you and me. Let them know, James.
I was going to say, Wavy D, I thought you were going to pick my Feud of the Year there. You mentioned it. I honestly do think Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Page is Feud of the Year. And this is why. Because when you think of Feud of the Year, this feud has lasted all year long in many different pieces. And so it started in 2023, and I don't even know if it's technically ended. Like, they've had their 3 matches, and they were really good matches for what they were. The Texas Death Match was great. Their Lights Out Steel Cage match, though technically not official, which is why I put the caveat. I don't know. I think they have one more match in store, and so the feud's not over. And I don't know, when you get as personal as they did with Hangman burning down Swerve's house that he grew up in, and all of that stuff. That stuff is just, it reminds me so much of the wrestling I grew up watching. And so that's why it attracted me to it. And I'm willing to go out on the line and say that this feud between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page is the equivalent of this generation's version of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock.
Now, James, I was with you for like 8/10 of your of your speech there. I will say Swerve and Hangman was top 3 for me, top three feud. But the only thing that threw me off was Tony Khan's pacing of the story at times.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't the drinking blood from the forehead.
I was gonna say it was the drinking blood from me, bro.
No, you know what I'm saying? If you're a hardcore, for the sickos, it's for the sickos. If you like
That's
that
why,
stuff,
though,
you like that
yeah.
stuff.
That's why AEW is not for everybody. It gives you something different. I don't want to see, if I was going to tune into Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and PLEs and see the same stuff I saw from 2008, then I would. But AEW does stuff differently. That's what makes them different. You ask for something different, that's different. You know, I mean, you can't knock on something being different. You can either like it or don't like it, and that's obviously an opinion, and that's subjective. But it's different. That's the only thing.
I would hate to see your browser history.
I'm a married man, my friend, so it ain't going to be a whole lot going on. I promise you that.
All right. That's a wild thought line.
All right, Cody.
ECW was different, and it got a lot of people over, and it's still over. So, I mean, you know, I understand it's dead, but I mean, it's different.
It's dead. All right, Cody. Who's your feud of the year?
I am also going to say that it was Punk versus McIntyre, and it put my ego aside for most of these because of some of these answers, and one of them is because of Fragile Phil. But it was a feud of the year. It lasted almost 10 months. The whole costing Drew the world title on multiple occasions was very good. The absolute ridiculous Disney Channel bracelet thing almost killed it. If you're going to make something worthwhile, how about you do what Copeland and Malachi Black did and take the man's wedding ring, not a $5 bracelet that my daughter can make. But put that aside, it was still very good. I like the way that they kept it going even while Punk was injured, kept it intriguing. Obviously, the promos were one of the things that kept this thing going and made it really well. And then the matches followed suit with it and made it, I would say, the feud of the year, in my opinion.
All right, Nerdy D.
They said everything. Cody said everything exactly the way I would have said it. Besides the bracelet was the dumbest shit in the world. I mean, I 100% agree. 35-cent bracelet is not worth fighting over. Why not use a wedding ring? I like that example perfectly. I agree with what Wavy said, what Twan said. It was just. I mean, I think most people forget it was a year long. That's where I think happens is people don't realize it started at Rumble and then it played out through the summer. So yeah, I'm CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I'm going to add my name in the hat there as well. Though I think a close second is Ricochet and Samantha Irvin versus the Internet. But apparently we're being worked on that, so we'll see when that happens. Moving forward, let's move to the premium live event or pay-per-view of the year. Wavy D, you were up to the last second on this one. I can't wait to see what you got going on.
All right. Okay. This one was the hardest one for me to decide, okay? All right. What? Off first thought. On first thoughts, okay. I was thinking SummerSlam because SummerSlam had the story driving that show. I came out of SummerSlam and I was like, yo, this was a freaking amazing show. You know what? But the X's and O's of the wrestling match didn't quite live up to it. It was just the pure story and the twists and turns that made SummerSlam a great show. So I gotta rule out SummerSlam. That brought me to WrestleMania Night 2. Okay. WrestleMania Night 2 has some great matches. My match of the year is actually on that card. You're not gonna spoil that yet, but my match of the year is on that card. But it was lacking some of the storytelling. So you had the great X's and O's of some great matches, but it lacked some of the storytelling. I know you got that 2 minutes of all the cameo, yada, which we all shit our pants over and we were all screaming, type in the disc like, oh my god. But it was lacking the story throughout the rest of the card. So my PLE that had a great balance of X's and O's and storytelling, and it was the launching point for one of my superstars of the year. I gotta go NXT Stand and Deliver. NXT Stand and Deliver is my PLE of the year.
Interesting. All right, Twan, who you got?
My PLE of the year. I don't know. I found this one to be not too hard because I feel like it's got to be WrestleMania 40, right? I don't
One
know.
or two.
Night one. Oh, I don't know. I feel as a whole, it couldn't be as a whole. It had to be night 1 or night 2.
It's too deep.
I mean, if I were going to put WrestleMania, it would be the whole show.
Yeah,
I mean,
the whole show, right?
That's the way I interpreted it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't break two nighters into two different shows. It's still one show. WrestleMania.
I don't think it's fair to break it into 2 nights because then I think the only fair way would to be able to cherry pick from the 2 nights the equivalent of one card.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going WrestleMania the full show?
Well, each night had like 6 matches. It's like the rest of his PLEs who have 5 matches a night.
Sure, but you've got 12 stories coming to head, and you assume that if you're only given one night, the 6 worst stories don't make it to that card. Is what I'm saying.
I just think it's not Backlash's fault that WrestleMania is a grander event that requires 2 nights.
Yeah,
one would argue it didn't need 2 nights, but so yeah, I think if we're gonna do, especially seeing that SummerSlam is becoming 2 nights and eventually Rumble will as well. I judge these based on the full weekend, not just night 1, night 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I feel like WrestleMania 40 was crazy this year.
Okay.
Rock and Roman on a team together. That end segment with Rock and Roman both holding up titles, even though the Rock's title was a fake title. Even though it was a fake title, it still was a hard picture. And then the second night with Cody finally doing what his daddy wanted and holding up that WWE title at the end with all the baby faces in the ring. I don't know. I just feel like I haven't seen any PLE that has topped either of those moments. Like there's been better wrestling matches per se, but I don't think that the high of the high for the PLE for any other PLE has been the same as WrestleMania 40.
Okay. James?
Sorry. I am going to preface this by saying I think this is the pay-per-view that I picked simply because I was in the crowd for this pay-per-view. And so I think it holds a special memory for me. Plus, it had probably one of the best retirement matches of all time. And that would be AEW Revolution Sting's retirement match. And I was in the crowd. But you look at the final 3 matches of that card. You had the Ospreay and Takeshita match, which absolutely was a banger. I had people sitting next to me that didn't even know who Takeshita was, and they ended up saying that he was a really good wrestler. You had the Samoa Joe match with Hangman and Swerve, kind of the mix of that feud that I talked about earlier, and then the Sting and Darby winning the tag titles there and retiring Sting in good style. Those 3 matches in a row were really good. WrestleMania was okay. I was not a fan of. I have been saying for 4 years now that the Bloodline story needed to end, and it just continues. It's like the Fast and the Furious. It keeps going and going and going, and there's really no point in it right now.
Family.
But yeah. So for me, it's Revolution.
Do you not like making money? Because that's what the Bloodline. That's what the Bloodline does. We make money. Anyway, Cody, your match.
I'll tell you
PLE.
what definitely made money was also the same PLE, the pay-per-view that I'm picking along with James is Revolution. I was also in the crowd as well. They sold that thing out by only saying it was Sting's retirement, and it was a cool thing to watch, cool thing to see. Entire crowd for the night was buzzing, going from Roderick Strong winning the international title from Orange Cassidy. Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm put on a really good match. Obviously, Takeshita and Ospreay had what I thought then was the match of the year. It got topped by a different match down the road, but and then finishing off with the world title triple threat between Hangman, Swerve, and Joe. Crowd was hot for that, and they stayed hot up until the main event with Sting and Darby retaining the tag titles over the Bucks. Just top to bottom, that show was really solid, and even watching it back, and that's what one thing that I did was at least watched it back, try to take my personal bias out of it to see actually how was the show from a flowing perspective, from a storyline perspective, from a match perspective, and top to bottom, I thought it just delivered on all fronts. Gave me every bit of the emotion that you should feel in a PLE. WrestleMania Night 2 did a really good job as well. I would beg to differ that for WrestleMania, you're going to be putting on as much of the much of your surprises, as much as your ultimate booking ideas as you can into the biggest show of the year. You're supposed to, for that reason, and it delivered on fronts of that as well. But from just top to bottom, Revolution topped it for me this year.
All right, and Nerdy D.
Yeah, so I think premium live event it's not fair because I mean what we just discussed, WrestleMania being 2 nights, 12 matches, it's everybody they can throw. There's something for everybody. They're going to hit you with every big surprise. They're swinging for home runs. Me and you've talked about this, Deep. This is what Triple H builds to. He builds to 2 or 3 nights a year. And one argument I'll make for AEW is their pay-per-views are consistently better for their fan base. Like their fan base enjoys those events more. I think it's hard to ever compete against WrestleMania. It is a spectacle. They put it in the biggest building. They pack 70,000 plus in 2 nights in a row. Like you said, Deep, The Rock may be a crutch, but he's still The Rock. And so The Rock showing up 2 nights to wrestle 2 times, it's hard. I think if you separate it into 2 different nights and we have to pick from night 1 and night 2, I think other events get thrown into the conversation. But when you bring it together as a whole event, I can't even work in my brain an event that's close to that.
I definitely think WrestleMania got carried by night 2. I think night 1 was underwhelming. When you look back at it,
Cody, the tag team match, I if you go back and watch, I think we were on the edge of our seats because it had so many implications of what was going to happen.
I felt night one to me felt bigger or more important.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you look back at it, Becky was sick, and it made the Rhea Becky match not that great. You had the tag team ladder match.
The problem is that now you're giving excuses.
Well, no, I'm saying if you go back and watch WrestleMania, I think night 2 way better than night 1. And I don't know, the main event of night 1 carried into night 2. I feel like the matches on night 2 from top to bottom, bar for bar, were better than the matches night 1, top to bottom, bar for bar.
But I also think the expectation is raised. So if you take one of those matches out of context and put it on another premium live event, it's probably one of the top matches of the year. It's just that it gets buried third match into night 1, and it's given a certain amount of time. I just think, to me, it's the totality of the situation.
So, my PLE of the year is not WrestleMania. I'm gonna break away from that trend. When I look at PLE of the year, I'm not an X's and O's person. I don't care about who does a senton or a pile driver the best. That doesn't matter to me. What matters is, did you tell me a story that will make me go and see the next movie? Because that's what PLEs are. They're movies. And to me, that's Bad Blood. And I know Wavy D's over there rolling his eyes. But I'll defend it the same way I defended it after it happened. I don't care what Wavy D says. It's the best Hell in a Cell match ever. With Punk and McIntyre. The best Hell in a Cell match ever. You put behind that Bayley versus Nia Jax, which is the best match to put there because there's low expectations. You can't follow up the top match on the card with another banger. You got to give it a low because that's how wrestling is booked. You book high, then you go low.
The rest of the card was a low.
But it told story. So the whole story for this match between Bayley and Nia was to start the sort of division between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax. It started on this night to get to where we are, constantly trying to figure out when Tiffany Stratton at this point is going to cash in. You then move on to the next match, which I believe was Balor and Priest. Something.
No, what wasn't the Terror Twins versus Living?
Yeah, Terror Twins, and it's the Shark Cake match, which that entire point of that story was to introduce Raquel Rodriguez. Now, it was botched, but if it was done correctly, would have been a strong way to end that segment.
Keyword if.
But again, I'm not looking at the X's and O's on how things are looked at. I'm just looking at the story they're trying to tell me and what's on screen. And Raquel's now part of this faction, the Muscle against Rhea. You get, I think Gunther had his a defense, I believe.
No, Gunther wasn't on the card.
Okay.
It was the Hell in a Cell. It
Right.
was Cody and Roman versus the Bloodline. It was Nia.
That's right. Cody and Roman. That was the main event, which again was supposed to introduce us to this ongoing feud, which led to War Games. And so, to me, this entire card was story driven, which is what I like the most. You can have the best matches and the best X's and O's and all of that, but if you don't tell me a story, like when I look back at WrestleMania, and I know hindsight's 2020. I see a scrambled mess with Seth Rollins in there, and I get Punk was injured, but I don't see a reason why Rollins had to be a part of that feud. I see just a scrambled mess. You get a nostalgia moment, which I get that's what they wanted, but everyone should know I hate nostalgia moments. I think they're good, just as there's a way to get cheap heat like MJF does, there's a way to get a cheap pop, and I think that's what this was. There was really no reason to have Undertaker there, and all of this happened. Nothing came out of that. I still think the easiest way to book this was have Solo Sikoa attack Roman Reigns, cost him the belt, and then that makes an easier way to understand why Solo Sikoa is now turning on the Bloodline. I feel at times Triple H overbooks these big shows, and we cheer for him in the moment, but then nothing comes of it. And so for me, when I remember this year, and I personally, this is maybe my hottest take of the night. I feel like 2024 has been a really down year in wrestling. Nothing's really happened for every company. And so yeah, I'm going Bad Blood here.
I think all the positives you gave Bad Blood, SummerSlam did better. As far as storyline stuff, that's when you had the Dom turned on Rhea, got with Liv, Finn turned on Damien, the Judgment Day split apart. I feel like be like going straight storyline for storyline. I feel like SummerSlam did all the positives that you said, but better.
Right. Okay, but they didn't have the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time.
So would you rather have amazing storytelling and a great match with 4 duds, or a great storytelling with
So-
5 solid matches?
So wrestling's not about matches; it's about moments.
But if you're calling it the greatest match of all time, then you can't give me the argument that match.
Right, so that's the
matches.
greatest match. That's the greatest match of all time, and it did it carry the show? Absolutely. But that's the moment everyone's going to hang on to and remember at the end of the year. Oh, what happened this year? Oh, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. People are going to remember that. They're not going to remember the 60-minute classic between 5'11", Adam Cole, and Ricochet.
Baby.
I think they'll remember Cody winning the title more so than they will the Hell in a Cell match, to be honest with you.
I agree with that.
All right, so we'll move forward into the match of the year. We'll start with Wavy D. Who we got here?
Match of the year. This goes to, you might laugh at me here, but go back and watch it. This goes to EO and Bailey, WrestleMania Night 2. I think so. If you're gonna say WrestleMania is the best PLE of the year, I think EO and Bailey is the best match of that PLE. All right, and if you don't agree with that, my second place match of the year is the triple threat match from Stand Deliver between Obafemi, Dijak, and Josh Briggs. Those are my top 2 matches of the year for WWE and all of wrestling.
Okay, Twan.
All right, so my match of the year for all of wrestling is, I kind of had like a 2-way-ish tie, but one eased out over the other. The tie would have been between CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, the Hell in a Cell match, and my other match was Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Title, and that match eased out the Hell in a Cell match only because that match was crazy, man. With Swerve kicking Danielson in the chest, and Danielson a bloody mess looking at his daughter screaming, I love you, as Swerve is kicking the life out of him, bro. Top moment for me, like this year watching wrestling. Like, I don't think any other match this year had me on the edge of my seat like that match did, because coming into it, you're thinking that Swerve's going to retire Bryan Danielson. All the reports are coming out that Bryan Danielson needs neck surgery. And then he goes out there, puts on a 40-minute banger with Swerve Strickland and wins the world title in the end too. Oh, man. I don't know. I feel like that match brought out so many emotions in me to where I couldn't not put it as my match of the year.
Definitely top 5 for me.
All right, James, where are we going?
So when you sent me this list, I immediately put a match on here, but I had to do some research and actually confirm that it was right. And that match was Takeshita versus Ospreay at Revolution. But then I did some thinking, and Ospreay had another match this year that I think, and a lot of other dirt sheets, and look, I'm as hardcore of an AEW fan as there comes. So like cage match and all of that, like I use those to judge what people and the broad spectrum of the IWC view it. And this match has like a 9.5 rating on Cage Match. Meltzer gave it like 6.5 stars. And I've watched it back this weekend, and I have to concur. Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door was just a 35-minute banger of a match. And there was so much going on leading up to the feud where Swerve implicated and talked about Ospreay's wife and Ospreay's son, and how this was kind of the moment where Ospreay had recently just signed with AEW, and I think it was the pay-per-view before he kind of mentioned Triple H and walking down to the ring or whatnot. And so they played into that part of the feud about the grind and all of that. And then they put on a banger of a match. Ospreay was doing a tribute to Hayabusa, which was his like Japanese growing up in the wrestling game. And then Wavy D talks a lot about how Tony Khan just kind of threw Daniel Garcia to the curb this year. And he did, because Daniel Garcia, if you don't remember at this point of the year, the next Dynamite, he had a match with Ospreay for the international title. Had Ospreay had won the match against Swerve, he was putting both belts up against Garcia. Swerve ends up winning this match, and I don't know. It was just such a good match. With all of the implications and story behind it, it was a match I had to put as my match of the year.
All right, Cody.
Yeah, so when I look at match of the year, I don't go off of Cage Match. I don't go off of star ratings. I don't go off of any of that. I go off of what I personally will go back and watch over and over and over again. That's why I know too much useless shit when it comes to wrestling, because I watch so much of it over and over and over again. And the one match that I have gone back to a few times more so than others this year is my match of the year, which was Ospreay versus Danielson at Dynasty in April this year. Just that match from beginning to end was, to me, as close to perfection as you can get. You have the ultimate professional with Danielson in there that can teach Ospreay. And that was my biggest thing with Ospreay going into that match was, all right, we know he can do the flippy stuff. He's athletic as hell. Great when it comes to the high-flying stuff. Danielson is the savvy vet that can do the ground and pound stuff, can do the submission techniques. Can Ospreay switch up his moveset and his in-ring style to counter that? Or is Danielson going to basically put him to shame and say, you're just a flippy guy and that's all you're going to be? And Danielson and Ospreay put on a classic, in my opinion, for 40 minutes that showed Ospreay can do a ground and pound game. He can be a submission style wrestler, but also has the athleticism and the flippy stuff in him. Obviously, Danielson still has some of that in him as well. The crowd ate up the match during the entrances. They ate up the match right before the bell, and from top to bottom were invested throughout the entirety of that match. I was invested in the entirety of that match. So many false finishes, so many things that just made that match epic and put a bow on a really good Dynasty pay-per-view, but this match made that entire show what it was. So Danielson versus Ospreay was it for me.
All right, Nerdy D.
This is how I know I'm a casual fan, because y'all said real intelligent shit. And I'm going to go with the most basic bitch answer in the world was, I'm okay with nostalgia. I'm okay with popping for The Undertaker and John Cena and all that shit. That was the match that got me out of my seat this year. I'm Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns too. That's my match of the year. That was the moment where I felt like as a community, we went absolutely nuts and just kind of lost our shit. Looking back, you can say whatever you want, but I remember in that moment just completely losing my shit. I will say though, Twan, the way you broke down the Bryan Danielson, if you could just break down AEW for me, that shit sounded great. Like I might actually go back and watch that match, because he made that sound good. Really good.
So good.
Yeah, I'm going basic bitch here. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. That's my.
So what I'm hearing is Twan's going to be your AEW translator.
He might have to be, because he made that shit sound real appealing. I want to go watch that.
Right. I think it's no question where I'm going with this. I just praised it. The last question. It's McIntyre versus Punk at Bad Blood. That's my match of the year. I typically hold like a count of matches that I like in my notes. I erased it after this match. I do remember the triple threat at Stand and Deliver was on it, but I think that was
Banger.
that would be number 2. But once I saw this match, knowing how Triple H books, and we were Bad Blood was like September, so we had Survivor Series, War Games. You had the Saudi show, and then that was basically the only PLEs left that year. I didn't think anything would beat it, so I just deleted the list, wrote this down in September, and we're going to stick on business there. Though I don't know, part of me wants to put one of the 7 Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes matches.
Few of the year, low key.
Hey, 7 games.
But yeah, so Drew versus Punk. We'll move into Superstar of the Year. We'll start with the females. This one was the toughest one for me to pick. We'll start with Wavy D. What you got for us? Don't say Io Sky, please.
I'm just saying, 2025. Watch out.
And if Zoe Stark leaves your lips, you're getting booted.
Yo, stop hating on Zoe Starks, okay? Just because you're like a strong, powerful woman who could, saying that. I'm just saying. And Io Sky, she had a great year also. But I was gonna say, Nerdy D, if you have a spare 59 minutes of time, okay, you need to watch Ospreay versus MJF at Dynamite 250. Okay?
All right.
If you got a spare 59 minutes, that match was top 5 this year. Okay, top 5.
Okay.
So female superstar of the year. Okay. 3rd place, Io Sky. Okay, 3rd place, Io Sky.
No one asked for 3rd place. What's first place?
What?
2nd place, Nia Jax. 1st place, undisputed women's wrestler of the year. No doubt about it. If you debate this, you ain't this. Okay? Roxanne Perez. Women's superstar of the year. All right. Okay. She won the title at Stand Deliver, and all she's been doing is taking out top talent that NXT could deliver. Okay? She's standing on business. She whooping all they asses. Okay? And now she about to whip Julia ass a 2nd time too. She put NXT on her shoulders. She carried it on her back. Okay, that little 4-foot nuttin' Roxanne Perez. All right, she putting in work right now. She put more work than Toni Storm, more work than Mariah May, more work than Rhea, who's been out half the year. More work than Liv Morgan, who has no real rivalries, no real memorable matches. Roxanne Perez is putting in work.
Okay. Twan?
I think I found the Roxanne Perez stand. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate that. Kidding.
Twan, where are you going?
All right. Oh, man. I hate to do it because of the way he just described her, but I was going to Roxanne Perez too. Mm-hmm. I gotta agree with Wavy D because when I thought of female superstar of the year, I think of who is the best women's superstar in the best women's division. And the best women's division is in NXT, and the best superstar in NXT right now is Roxanne Perez, man. She just had a hell of a year, man. From winning the title at Stand and Deliver to Lyra. Then she's going up against Julia. She's going up against Julia. Then she's going up against Stephanie Vaquer, Zarya, Sol Ruka, Jada Parker. You know what I mean? There's just so many names that I feel like they have down in NXT to where she not only goes up against these women, I feel like she elevates some of them. You know what I mean? Like her match with Lola Vice. Pretty solid match. Was it because of Lola Vice? I don't think so. I think it was probably Roxanne Perez. You know,
Jordan Grace beat her
match with Jordan Grace. Yeah, Jordan Grace is up there as well. But I don't know. I've got to agree with Wavy D. I feel like Roxanne. I wouldn't say she's been carrying that women's division, but I think she's been a great leader for it. You know what I mean? Like she's the best one in that division, and I feel like she holds that title very well. And
Yep.
she's not gonna beat Julia the second time though, Wavy D. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The run is
Sorry.
over, bro.
Sorry. Junkyard James. Please don't tell me it's Mercedes that overpaid.
No, he lost to Mariah May.
Nah, so when I look at, and this is for both male and female superstar of the year, the way I look at it is who put themselves in a position this year that they weren't in the year before. And so for the males, I have a couple that, and it was hard to come down to one, but for the females, it was actually kind of easy to pick. And Wavy D actually said it right. It was Mariah May. And this is why. And one, I knew who Mariah May was back in COVID pandemic times when she was selling kiss cards for $20 on the internet. But no one knew who she was before she got signed to AEW. But I'm willing to bet now that if I were to show at least someone with at least some knowledge of pro wrestling her photo, they would know who it is. So she has raised her game in a stacked women's division in AEW. If Tony Khan booked that division right, I think they could compete with like an NXT in the women's division with the amount of talent that they have. Tony Khan just doesn't know how to book that division properly. And Britt Baker's been gone for what seems like 3 years now or 2 years now. Jamie Hayter's been out. Thunder Rosa's out. She had her thing with Tony Storm, but Tony Storm's been out for several months and just returned. And she was able to maintain the top of that division and put on some really decent matches. And I think Mariah May was the best because she elevated her spot better than anybody else. She's one of the best females in that division on the mic and quite honestly in the ring at this point. Though Mercedes Moné, like, y'all can hate on her, but she put on the number 4 best top rated match this past weekend for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And she's a better worker than y'all give her credit for. So watch out for Mercedes Moné in 2025.
Number 4 rated match that no one saw.
CEO.
Cody, who you got as your women's wrestler of the year?
I think Wavy D does a better CEO than Mercedes does. I think it rivals between you and Okada because he had a thing for Mercedes. So yeah, I'm actually going to echo off of James, and I'm going to go with Mariah May as well. And the reason why she is the female superstar of the year, in my opinion, is because of the fact of it's harder to come from an indie or a not so universally known organization to come to an American promotion that's not WWE and become the most over talent possible. Mariah May did that. She came from Stardom. You ask most casual fans, probably have no idea what Stardom is. And when you come from a background like that, even though she's English, speaks English, she went to Japan to hone her craft, came over to America, and then, blossomed right in front of our television into, okay, who are you? What are you about? What are you going to do? Immediately attached herself to Tony Storm and created this wonderful story that lasted all the way into the summer of this year, based off of a movie with Bette Davis as Margot Channing. I think it's called All About Eve. I believe that's the name of the movie that they basically recreated. And wrestling, like you said, is movies, and boy, did they basically do a carbon copy of that in 2024. And between Mariah attaching to Tony, having some matches, being shown on AEW as a character perspective, but also as a wrestler, and then also winning the Owen Hart Cup, doing the immediate betrayal on Tony Storm, writing this just wonderfully drawn out story that led into All in London, that Mariah became the women's world champion, and basically is the badass on the block of saying this women's division is shit. I'm the best of it. There's nobody that compares to me. You know, she's calling out Chris Statlander. She's calling out Thunder Rosa, trying to knock the women's division. But that's the way to enhance it. Is you're kind of knocking it, but at the same time, hey, do something about it. Had the storyline with Mina Shirakawa that started all the way back when they were in Stardom years ago, and that portrayed all the way through the end of this year in AEW. So from top to bottom, Mariah May to me just had a very consistent, well drawn out year. One of the biggest storylines in AEW, but also I would say, and arguably in wrestling as a whole, with how long and how thorough that storyline was, culminated in the world title win, and has since carried that world title with conviction, and is truly one of a world champion that people can actually sink their teeth into. I wouldn't say that maybe if you showed a casual Mariah May's photo, I don't know yet if she's on that level, but just from an overall 52 week perspective this year, Mariah has, to me, shown that she is a superstar of the year for the female side.
All right, Nerdy D.
So I'll piggyback off what Cody said, being a casual fan. I don't know who Mariah May is. I don't have, to me, Tony Storm is someone who's transcended the AEW fan base. I know who Tony Storm is. I actually have tuned in just to see Tony Storm. But my answer, I go with Wavy D, and it's Roxanne. I think on the main roster side, the year's been too segmented. Rhea started strong, then kind of fell off. Liv picked up on the second half, but what Wavy D said, the kind of like reality TV side of Liv has been fun, but she hasn't wrestled anybody. There hasn't been any real. I assume, based off what Cody and James are saying, that if I watch Mariah May, my opinion would be vastly different. But I have no experience with her, and I don't watch a ton of NXT. But Roxanne is somebody who's transcended and kind of entered my world, and I hear about her enough to know that she's had a consistent year. So I go Roxanne on this one.
All right, crazy. Because I'm the NXT guy, and I'm not choosing Roxanne Perez. Because here's why. Wavy D says she holds that division. She's like the best. When I think of the NXT women's division, I don't think Roxanne Perez. I tend to forget about her. I think she's not the best on promos. When you're in a division that stacked of just, Shawn Michaels has found the factory of beautiful women, and she didn't come from it. So I'm picking Liv Morgan.
Wow.
I'm picking Liv Morgan, which is crazy because I'm the one that said that, Liv Morgan, I could find 8 more of these at Hooters.
Yeah.
You did say that.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy, but I think what changed my mind was, which is crazy because my initial pick for this was Bayley, because I think Bayley's had the most consistent year all year. She hasn't necessarily been a champion, but she's been carrying SmackDown through the hard times of watching SmackDown. But I think. But Liv Morgan, what sold me on Liv Morgan was the fact that she hasn't lost a match since March, since winning at WrestleMania.
But she's had like 3, right?
But I also think, like, the whole Judgment Day story, I see where everyone's coming from. It's literally been Rhea versus Liv all year. That's all the women's division has technically been. Then on the other side, it's Nia Jax. And it's definitely not her as Women's of the Year.
I just great run though.
By Nia Jax standards, sure.
Yeah, now we just have to teach her how to hold a chair and swing it.
I'm just saying that was bad, but outside of the chair shots, she's had a really good year.
Sure.
Evidently, she was watching Hulk Hogan swing some chair shots and doing that.
But yeah, I'm picking Liv Morgan. I think also I'll go back to Nerdy's point about, like, NXT has a little bit of safety in how you book it.
Sure.
I think for me, like, when I think of NXT's women's division, it's Sol Ruka, Kalani Jordan, the people that can get in the ring and wow me away. Roxanne doesn't wow me. I know that's crazy. I guess that's another hot take, but yeah, we'll transition now to the men. No Diddy. Wavy, who's your male superstar of the year?
My male wrestler of the year. You know what I'm saying? Got Papa James for that one. You know, if MJF wasn't hurt for a good portion of the year, or if Adam Cole wasn't hurt all year long, you know what I'm saying? I might win the AEW route, you know what I'm saying? But I just got a few names for you. Just bear with me. I got a few names for you. Braun Breaker, Ludwig Kaiser, Jacob Fatu, Kevin Owens, Austin Theory, Santos Escobar, Logan Paul, Otis, Chad Gable, AJ Styles, Carmelo Hayes, Dominic Mysterio, Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, Drew McIntyre, Grayson Waller,
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura. What do all these individuals have in common? They all got pinned by the male wrestler of the year, which is your WWE undisputed champion, Cody Rhodes. But this man has had, say he's been champion. He's defeated every guy who's came across him. All right, you guys might say he missed out on a few PLEs. Well, guess what? He made up for it with the rest of the fans. This man has been on every tour, no matter if they went to Germany doing house tours, went to Japan doing house tours. This man's doing dark matches on Raw and SmackDown. Okay, Cody Rhodes is a workhorse. Okay, a workhorse champion. All right. He's also had consistent PLE, good matches on PLEs when he's on the PLEs. And also the ones where he was on them, not defending his title. He was in tag team matches. Okay. Cody Rhodes is a workhorse champion. All right. He beat the best. He beat the GOAT. Okay. He beat the best of all time this year, Roman Reigns. He defeated him. So if you beat the GOAT, you must be the best, right? If you want to be the best, you gotta beat the best. All right. And that was Cody Rhodes.
So just to know, are we supposed to note everybody that our superstar beat? Was that a requirement of this award?
No, say
because if we are, you missed AJ Styles.
Yeah,
I did say AJ Styles. He was after Chad Gable.
Oh, sorry, I fell asleep. That promo was about as boring as a Gunther promo.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, put some respect on Cody Runnels, okay?
All right, Twan, where are we going?
I'm not gonna lie, he had me a little scared because I thought you were naming people who you thought were superstars of the year, and the second name was Ludwig Kaiser, and I was like, "Whoa, what is going on?"
I thought he was naming people that Uncle Howdy was coming after.
Oh my goodness! But I've got to agree, my superstar of the year, Cody Rhodes. It's got to be the biggest man in the biggest business. The man can do media. He can wrestle the matches. He's there Monday. He's there Friday. He's there even Tuesdays a couple times this week. You know what I'm saying? He's the perfect politician wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, you can hand him your child and he'll kiss your child on the forehead and give your child back to you. And that's just the type of champion that Cody is. And I think he's superstar of the year. Now, while I agree, some of his booking choices has been weird. He hasn't had a good feud per se during this title reign. I can't put that on him. That's on the booking, you know what I mean? That's on Triple H. So I can't be mad at Cody for that. I can only look at what he's been given. And with what he's been given, I feel like he's done the best with it as he can. You know what I mean? And yeah, I got to agree with Wavy D on this one. I think superstar of the year, without a doubt, in my mind, is Cody Rhodes.
Also, on my list of the people he beat, I left off like 25 others who he beat in the Royal Rumble to be your back-to-back.
No, that was bad booking. Bro, no, they made Cody Rhodes come out at 30. That was bad booking. I didn't like that. Because you waited the entire Rumble to know who the winner was going to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the best rapper of all time said, I'm going back-to-back.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. James, where are you going?
So yeah, like I said with female, and maybe D said it right, wrestler of the year. To me, for the male side, you have to go with the person that kind of raised their stake in the game. And so I have two names. And the first one, not necessarily for what he does in the ring, but what he did out of the ring, which is place #1 on the iTunes charts this year, which is transcend from TNA to NXT and had a pretty decent reign. And everybody should know who it is. Say his name and he'll appear. Joe Hendry is one half of the male superstar of the year, just simply because, again, nobody knew who he was before this year. And now everybody, even people that don't watch wrestling, took part of the TikTok trend that was the Joe Hendry trend. But more so on the wrestling side, I have to go back to my AEW roots. And Swerve Strickland, just from a straight wrestling perspective, had like several banger matches this year. We'll have another banger feud continuing with the Hurt Business. They actually get some time and to do the Hurt Business in front of a live crowd, and Swerve will take out Bobby Lashley, eventually take out the Hurt Business, and Swerve Strickland, just his match at Dynasty or at Revolution with Hangman and Joe, and his match at Forbidden Door, and all in and all out, and all of the matches that he had this year have just been absolutely great. And yeah, so I'm going Swerve Strickland, and then I guess 1A Joe Hendry.
All right, Cody, where are you going?
This was the hardest category for me to decide because I think you could argue that there is at least 4 or 5 guys that you could have at least an argument for that could be Wrestler of the Year. It could be Punk coming back from the injury and having a pretty stellar second half of the year. You could argue Drew McIntyre. You could argue Gunther, cashing in, winning the world title. You can even say Damian Priest capturing the world title as well and cashing in as well. So there could be arguments made. The 2 that came down for me was Swerve Strickland, that I almost picked. He had a hell of a year from top to bottom. Even after losing the world title at All in London, he came back, fought Hangman Page 2 weeks later at that non-sanctioned lights out steel cage match. Hell of a brawl, lost the match, and then showed up about a month later in his hometown of Tacoma for Wrestle Dream, and came back looking like the superstar and the moneymaker for AEW that he is and hopefully in the future continues to be. And has been a mainstay for AEW television in the storyline game for all year, and really, I think has elevated AEW at least a little bit in terms of a better booked company from that perspective, not overall, just from that perspective regarding Swerve and how well he was used throughout the year. But putting my ego aside, my superstar of the year is Cody Rhodes. That hurts to say. Because he's still a traitor in my eyes, but it is what it is. I don't think you could argue. I don't think there's a question of who had the best top to bottom 52 weeks of the year. Cody Rhodes definitely did. From winning the Rumble to that bullshit we had in February and early March with the whole Rock and Roman thing. Seth got intertwined with it, and then we came back with obviously him winning the world title at WrestleMania, having really good feuds, really good matches, putting over talent in some instances, but also just carrying the company from a corporate type of thing. He is his father's son. He is the ultimate baby face, the whitest white meat baby face you can get, whiter than Pharaoh. He is white meat, and just top to bottom, had the best year of anybody in wrestling, carried the company on his shoulders, proved that he can be the world champion, and ultimately proved Triple H and others wrong in WWE that he can be the guy. Give him the ball, he can run with it. He made his name outside the Fed, came back, and has led the charge and done it pretty well. So Mr. Runnels is my superstar of the year.
Yeah, Nerdy D.
See, I don't know what all y'all were watching with Cody this year.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to argue against all the points that were made about Cody Rhodes. Let me go back to January. He almost was replaced out of the match that he was booked for a whole year, and Dwayne shows up and they go, "Oh yeah, no, let's do Dwayne and Roman. That sounds better." And it literally took the fans crying to get him back into that match. Then he has his moment, big moment at WrestleMania, but immediately after that, he's just routed into the Bloodline story. He just becomes a character of the Bloodline saga. It overshadowed him for most of the year. It reminds me of CM Punk's long title run, where Punk was like third match on every main or every premium live event because John Cena was main eventing. Like, there's no doubt this year has been the year of the Bloodline, and Cody's just been the champion. I would argue that superstar of the year, like, I don't think there has been just a clear cut. I agree with Cody where you say it's kind of just what was your favorite guy. To me, I go Drew McIntyre just because I feel like he elevated himself. I feel like if we're talking about like Cody, the title has kind of made Cody this year. He's carried it around. It's been the thing that he kind of hangs his hat on. Whereas Drew McIntyre did all of what he did this year without a title, just kind of despite the title. The guy who we always say deserves that championship run, deserves that moment, was just kind of like, nah, whatever. I'll just do it without it. We had the CM Punk stuff. We had all of the the WrestleMania winning the title and then immediately losing it because of Punk and Damian Priest. I don't think Drew McIntyre by any means is a clear cut favorite. It's just that's the name that when I looked at the list of names, and Swerve Strickland was a strong consideration because, like I said, though I don't watch Swerve, he's transcended AEW. And he comes onto my radar all the time, and I do see the things he does. So he was strong consideration, but I went Drew McIntyre.
Yeah. Drew McIntyre was my name that I picked. I think a lot of people do forget he won the title at WrestleMania. Was it a long run? No, but he got the spot. Pretty sure he got it by winning Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, definitely.
So wins the Chamber, wins the title. When we're looking at like the record for the year, those are two pretty big events and things that you can add to them. Has to me the feud of the year, the match of the year, and carries it because Punk is hurt. And anyone that can get a bracelet over as a prop, I think you have to give some props there to him. I think the more I watch wrestling, if you would have asked me in 2014 who I cheer for, it would be the baby faces. But the more I watch it, it's the cool thing to cheer for the heels now. And McIntyre to me screams like that bad guy. Nerdy D's been like, where's the bad guy, the Thanos that Cody Rhodes needs to go against? But then he gets thrown into it, but he's sort of backstage. He plays the black background while the Bloodline, and he gets upstaged by Roman Reigns again when Roman returns. And so I don't see Cody as like a threat. I just see, they gave him a little prop. He can play in the background. It's his little toy. But Roman's really running the show. And so with that, I mean, even to the point where he played the background in the whole Roman solo storyline that started it. Cody was just sort of grouped in there. The champion didn't really mean nothing. And so I think Drew's had more meaningful moments this year than anyone. I was close to saying Punk, but with him being injured and Drew carrying the early half of that feud, I'll go Drew on that one. All right, so we'll end this with how we always end it. Looking towards 2025, we'll start with the women again. Wavy D, who are 3 women you're looking forward to? Just off the top, real quick.
All right, 3 women I'm looking forward to in 2025. Not just because they're favorites of mine, but because of I have high expectations for them, and I see championships in their future. Okay, one is Michin Mia Yim. Okay, I think she has one to 3 title reigns this upcoming this year. I think that U.S. title might bounce around a little bit, and also if she gets transferred to Raw, I feel like she's a strong contender to hold that IC title. So give me Mia Yim. Give me your longest reigning United States Women's Champion of all time, Chelsea Green. All right. And give me Roxanne Perez. I feel like she's gonna get called up pretty soon, whether she beats Julia or loses to Julia. I think she's gonna get called up, and I think she's gonna get a rocket ship strapped to her back, and I think she's gonna do some big things on the main roster.
Okay, Twan, where are you headed?
My 3 women, you've got to give me. It's Tiffy time. Tiffy time is right around the corner. That women's WWE title is coming to Tiffy time strap soon. My other woman would be, I think, Stephanie Vaquer and Julia. When I look at both of them, I just think the sky's the limit with them. I feel like there's so much that they can do on NXT. I think with them, I don't even think they have to be in NXT for too long per se, but I feel like they're gonna have a crazy 2025. But my overall woman that I think is gonna go crazy is Tiffany Stratton. I feel like 2025 is gonna be all about her. She's gonna have a lengthy title run. She's gonna have the main event match with Charlotte, and yeah, I just think it's Tiffy time, baby.
Right. All right, James, where are you headed?
All right, so I give out some pretty big hot takes on some of these awards, but you always know that this is where I start naming people that y'all probably haven't heard of. And so I'm gonna do that. I think Anna Jay is going to have a great year in 2025. We'll see tomorrow night on the Holiday Bash episode. I think she's fighting Mercedes Moné in DC for the TBS title. I don't think she'll win it at this point, but I think she's getting into these main title scene events now in 2024, and eventually maybe Jack Perry can beat somebody else up and get her a title. I don't know. Another person that I'll name is Billy Starks, and we're going to see her this Friday at a Final Battle beat Athena and end that run of ROH Women's Champion. And so I'm excited to see where Billy Starks at the bright age of 20 years old. She just turned 20 about 11 days ago, I think. Show that she can be the leader of ROH. I know ROH isn't that big of a brand, but they're from what all the rumors I've seen, they're about to announce that they're getting TV deal in 2025. So for her to be the main woman for a TV show would be big. And so Billy Starks, I got Anna Jay, and then my last one's currently a free agent, but I think she's going to sign eventually this year in 2025. And I've heard rumors for both AEW and WWE. I'm leaning towards AEW, and that is she's probably going to replace Camille and be the power behind Mercedes Moné, and that is the Megasis Megan Bayne. And I've watched her for a couple of years just on the indie scene, and I've always been impressed with her. She's a GCW queen, so I don't know how the problems with AEW and GCW, though I do think that's a work with Ricky Starks, how that will affect the outcome of her going to AEW. So those are 3 names that I have there.
So to be fair, you said Anna Jay and Billy Starks last year, and I don't know how you can put them on the list 2 years in a row. But interesting. You're right. You do say names none of us have ever heard of.
Shout Will Nightingale. I forgot about her. Will Nightingale.
Cody, where are you headed with this one?
So Megan Bayne is like maybe 4th on my list because I think that she will eventually join one of the bigger promotions and maybe we'll do something, but I don't think she's going to have that big of an impact, at least at the moment. The 3 that I have written down that I think we're going to have a great 2025, obviously Tiffany Stratton. That's going to become women's world champion of some capacity. So expect to see that in 2025. See where that takes her as far as a character perspective and development of that character, and see what she can do with the title belt. I think Julia as well. I don't think Stephanie Valkyrie is yet kind of in that spotlight to be elevated in either NXT or to make it into the main roster. And I think Julia is being groomed for that, whether it's the NXT Women's Champion or if it's to be in a better spot on the main roster. I think she's destined to have a really good 2025 as well. And I think Athena is going to have a really strong 2025 as well. I do think she loses the ROH Women's World Title this Friday at Final Battle. But I think that's going to catapult her into becoming into the AEW main roster and potentially maybe in her home state of Texas win the TBS or Women's World Title at All In Texas in July. I think that she has done plenty enough in ROH, had a very long title reign, done all she can do there, and time for her to join the main roster and start tapping her toes into there and seeing what kind of feuds that she can do. And I think she'll have a really good 2025 as well.
All right, RDD.
I'll go quickly. Tiffany Stratton, I agree with everybody. I think it's 2025 is going to be her year. There's lots of it's Tiffy time, but I'm going to go with Lola Vice because of her commercial appeal. I think that she is the prototype for like diversity in WWE, and they're going to push that in 2025 with her. And I'm going to go third, Sol Ruka, because I think she's just different. She's just built different. She does things differently. She has a look. I think that she'll get elevated and have a big 2025.
Yeah. So I do think Sol Ruka. So Sol Ruka doesn't make my list, but I do think she is better for the main roster than Rock. To me, Roxanne feels like she gets up there, she gets lost in the mid card, whereas Sol Ruka can be marketed as something better than what Roxanne. Roxanne to me just screams like another Mercedes Moné. So mine is Tiffany Stratton. 2025 will be Tiffy time. That's all it is. She gets the Charlotte Flair push and robe. I'm going Stephanie Vaquer. Julia's going to beat Roxanne on the 7th, and that's going to set up what I feel will be like a year-long feud between Stephanie and Julia. And I think Stephanie Vaquer is the better of the two. And I think she's more liked. I think already she has the benefit of the doubt of she knows English better, not well, but better. And I'm leaning towards her. And my number 3 is a little bit unconventional. I'm going Bianca Belair. It's been a while since she's been in the title scene. I think that changes. I think Bianca faces Rhea at some point, wins the title. I'm still holding on to she's the one that attacked Jade. And when Jade returns, like I sort of just envision like Rhea winning, or excuse me, Bianca winning the title at Mania, holding it to like SummerSlam where Jade like shows back up. And then we can finish out the year with Bianca and Jade. Fantastic feud there. So those are my 3. We'll go quickly around with the guys here. Wavy, to hear your 3 dudes you're looking out for.
All right. First person is your next NXT North American champion, Speedball Mike Bailey. I think he comes to NXT with a splash and wins the title. Next is the person that beats Mike Bailey. Give me Penta El Zero. All right. I think he debuts before his brother does because his brother is locked up in AEW with that health contract, whatever it's up in the air. Fuck that shit. And then my third person. Oh crud. My third person. Give me your future Intercontinental Champion, Obafemi.
Okay. Twan, where we headed?
My first person, I agree with Wavy D, Obafemi. Think 2025 is going to be a great year for him, and I'm not sure if he's going to win the Intercontinental Championship, right, but we can start with the NXT World Title. I think that's a given in 3 weeks. My next person, I think Drew McIntyre. I think 2025 is going to be a lot of him as tag champion with Seth Rollins, Power Trip 2.0. I also think that Drew is going to be in the world title picture often in 2025, and I feel like they're just going to start giving him his flowers more.
Mm-hmm.
And then my last pick for my male superstar, who I think is breaking out the most out of everyone on the entire roster, 2025 is the year of Dirty Dominic Mysterio. He's
World
winning his
champion.
first world title in 2025, baby.
That's
Dirty,
crazy.
Dirty Dominic Mysterio is the future. It's
Okay.
time. He's ready, baby.
Okay. James?
All right. So I'm going with Daniel Garcia because I thought 2024 would be his year. Contract stuff got in the way. That Daniel Garcia as AEW for I think the next couple years. So I really think Tony Khan wasn't hyperbolizing when he was like, you're going to see a lot of Daniel Garcia in 2024. I think he was just a year off. We'll get Daniel Garcia. He's going to have a nice run with the the TNT title, international title. I can't remember. TNT title. Well, he'll have a good run with that one. Next, we'll have Kyle Fletcher. I think he might surpass Will Ospreay as like the best of those signings there, because Wavy D has said it. He might, if he could just bulk up just a little bit, he could be that next star. So I like the proto star Kyle Fletcher. And then my last one, this is kind of because of how I kind of fantasy book the world title scene in WWE, but Trick Williams, I think, will have a big year in 2025. And if it went the way that I had it, John Cena is passing him the torch and the belt at SummerSlam this year. And he's one that retires John Cena because you have Cena goes through the summer with like fighting Punk and fighting he if I were to fantasy book it, he beats Randy Orton for the belt at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania this year. But you go through all those nostalgia feuds, and then the way I know Cena wants to go out is putting somebody over. He tried putting Austin Theory over, but I think Hulk Hogan couldn't put Austin Theory over. Trick Williams is the guy that I think has just the fans appeal that could be the next quote unquote John Cena babyface in WWE. So give me Trick Williams for that WWE side.
All right, Cody.
I played pretty nicely for this entire show. I'm going to break the rules a little bit, and I put 4.
Sorry.
For nostalgic purposes, John Cena. It's the last full-time year. Let's go out with a bang. Hopefully give him some nostalgic matches. It'd be great if he gets the 17th world title. Obviously, he's going to put somebody over at the end. I'm very intrigued as to who that will be and who he kind of really passes the torch over to at the end of the year. So I'm just looking out for him. And really, actually, as much of a Cena hater as I have been for the last 15 years, I am fully on board with this retirement feud run that he's going to be doing. I'll be invested into it, and I'm actually going to chant "Let's go, Cena." It's going to be scary for me to say it, but yeah. For the 3 that I pick as having great 2025s from a non-nostalgic perspective, Kyle Fletcher is one. I think that with the Australian show coming up in February, he is going to be the star alongside with maybe Buddy Matthews and Tony Storm. Just carrying that show, he is going to look more of a star in that setting than he did than at any point, especially after beating Ospreay, that he did a Full Gear. He is primed to have a great 2025. I still think Ospreay is going to be the ultimate better signing of those. I think Ospreay is more built to be a world championship type material, but Fletcher is 1B. He is right underneath them. Still in that perspective, I think his promo work could be a little bit better, but Fletcher is well on his way to becoming a big-time star in AEW. The second person I have is Bronson Reed. I think that he was coming along quite well, quite nicely. He got injured, and that, unfortunately led his kind of push there to stop. I think when he rehabs that and comes back, bees that monster heel, tries to dethrone either maybe an IC champion, US champion. I don't really know for sure. But I think that he was coming along pretty nicely there, and then it got cut short because of the injury. I think he comes back pretty picking up where he left off and has a really good 2025 as well. But the third actual superstar that I feel will have a great 2025 is Kenny Omega. Guy is coming back January the 5th, Wrestle Dynasty, wrestling his first match, which was in an AEW, but it's an AEW NJPW collaboration, much like Forbidden Door, but it's for the NJPW side of things. I think he's going to come back slowly, but I do think over time we do finally start seeing him in AEW with some really good feuds. Okada is going to be one. I think the whole thing with the Elite probably have something to do with that. Maybe Heyman, maybe even the Bucks. And I think that maybe he's the one to maybe dethrone Jon Moxley and regain control of AEW and the world title from the Death Riders. But yeah, kind of broke the rules before, but those are the ones I picked.
No worries, Nerdy D.
I got Obafemi. I think he jumps the line. I think he's on the main roster rather than later. I don't think he sticks around NXT too long. I think he's got all the intangibles that they want on the main roster. So I think he makes the jump. I think Braun Breaker quits messing around with mid-card titles and becomes a world champion in 2025. I think he gets a decent run with that. And then this may be wishful thinking, but Montez Ford finally wins a mid-card title and has a good year.
Okay. I like that one. So I did have, Cena as like a nostalgia pick as well. So you're not the only one there, Cody. But my legit 3, Obafemi has to be on everyone's list. I was on the train of thought that Nerdy D just said until they put him in the NXT title picture. I think he does win on the 7th. Sure, it doesn't have to be super long, but I don't necessarily think they have the next baby face ready for him. It's going to be Javon Evans. I just don't think Javon Evans has been built to that like David and Goliath status yet. And so I think that takes some time this year. I was going to put Bronson Reed on my list until he got hurt. And his estimated return is SummerSlam. I don't think it's fair that he gets to wrestle 4 months and then gets put on this list. So I took him off and replaced him with Jacob Fatu. If 2024 was the year of Solo, like I predicted, by the way, that it would be, 2025 is going to be the year of Jacob Fatu. I think eventually he turns on Solo. We get that banger of a feud. There's going to be a match against Roman, I assume, at some point before that turn. And then my last pick here is Kevin Owens. I like where we're headed with Kevin Owens. I am 100% on board that he has re-signed with WWE. There is no contract issue. We're not building him to this deathly heel to ship him down to Jacksonville to be, mid-card status. And so Kevin Owens, I think, runs the storyline of I took out Orton, I took out Cody, I'm your champion now. And that sets up Cody's big heel or Cody's big return. But I think Kevin Owens might be I'm leaning towards what Nerdy Deeb says. Kevin Owens is the best wrestler on the planet. From a character perspective, in-ring perspective, he just has everything. I used to say Gunther, but he has bored the literal shit out of me this entire year. I'm now on the Kevin Owens train. I think he has a really good year as well. So that's where we'll end this. Been a great, hour and 45-minute conversation. Thank you, everyone, for joining the panel here, and everyone who will listen to this. I do appreciate it. And then until next time, me and Nerdy D, or not Nerdy D, Wavy D, get them confused all the damn time. Me and Wavy D will be back in January with the new season of the Slap and Meat podcast. But until then, y'all have a great rest of your year. Enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy your New Year. We'll see you on the next one.
So hit that subscribe, come along for the ride. AEW, WE, we're always on side. From fantasy booking to baddies that slay. Slap and Meat wrestling every Tuesday.